Hey folks, welcome back. It's the Restoration Couple, but this time we're on tour. We're on holiday, a rare occurrence. And well, it's a new venture. This is my brother and his family's house. They've taken this project on and we're going to show you all around it and a little bit about Swedish house building.
You didn't even say where it was.
Swedish. We're in Sweden.
We're in Sweden.
Swedland. Right, here we are then. We're going to have a look around. We're going to have a look at how these places are built because there's different buildings, different structures, different build methods.
So cool.
Martina's become a window expert overnight. So there's restoration going on already.
It's a real
Joe doesn't want to leave.
old building.
We've got about an hour left.
We've been saying all week we should film, and now on the last day, that's when we crack it out.
Right, we're going to have a walk around. I'm going to talk you through some of the details because I have, swatting up in some of the history books on Swedish house building. So first up, bit of background. This was kind of like a small holding, Swedish homestead, and it's been changed over time. And there's a really nice history book that previous owners have documented stuff. But the main house has stood there for a long time, which is this structure here, and it's a log-built traditional Swedish house. These two buildings either side, which form this sort of village square, they're slightly younger, still 100 years old. This building here is the main house. There's a little extension here on the right, but the majority of this is a log-built solid timber cabin, basically, like you would see up in the Alps. And then on the outside you get this vertical traditional cladding, very, very simply built, but in a way that is just so long lasting. All the buildings around here are exactly the same paint, same windows, and all of them are lasting so well. So I'll give you a little look on some of the details. And I've been reading up some of their Swedish books over here and trying to translate and pick my way through it. And we've visited some other buildings, including Skansen, which is like a sort of historic park in Stockholm where you can see all these different building techniques that have been used, and they've actually brought buildings in from around the country and rebuilt them so you can walk around them. But here you go, here's a traditional window, and Martina is actually working her way around restoring these. Interestingly, the window system here has not been changed in a long time. There's no one banging in triple glazing and ripping out old stuff. They work with what they've got and it seems to work very well. So what you have on the outside is the original windows with sort of a linseed putty holding the handmade glass panels in, and then you've got these strengthening brackets on the corner, which are kind of decorative in some areas, so they're a bit more ornate. And then during the summer, that is your main window, just single glazing. And then in the winter, you winterize everything. And I'll show you how they do that in a minute.
I've just put them on. Hang on.
Oh, no, that's all right. It's lunchtime. It's all going on. They're trying to kick us out, but we're hanging in for another hour or two. I thought I'd show you a little bit of the original house. So let me go through to here. So this one, like I was saying, is a timber. What's it called? A timber strom. The house. Timmerstomme. So that is, hello Root, that is when it's built from logs, which they've got a little sample panel to demonstrate. You're loving it here, aren't you? So this is, the whole building is built this way. So full size logs squared off on the either side, but not intended to be visible like this. This has just kind of been left by the previous owners as a bit of an example. Well, a bit of a feature wall. Interestingly, when they bed them together, you can see in there, there's some sisal rope or something. I don't know if that was put in afterwards or during, but normally there is something there, whether it's moss or hessian or something, to seal, because obviously the outside walls want to be draft proof. Nice try, dude. Come on. But having done a bit of reading, going through some of the sort of history books they got here on how the structure is done, typically the original rural, and urban, I guess, houses were built like this, and then there was an option of how they were finished. So originally it would have just been like this on the outside, like an alpine lodge. But then subsequently they would start either cladding or rendering onto the outside, like what we've seen on the outside of this building, where those vertical boards are put on and then the battens painted red. So these ones here are internal walls. They run through. It's a really simple but sensible way to build. It's a square split into 4 quarters, and that makes it easier to heat, but also structurally a bit easier to build. But in the logs, they've just, I guess with a little small hatchet, notched, which is just so that when they plaster this, the lime plaster can just key into something. So on the internal surfaces, it seems to be like this. On the outside, if you wanted to render, which some buildings are rendered here, they build from logs like this, and then they just knock in pegs every sort of 4 inches. There's these old sort of timber dowels, and then that is what you key the render into. So you can actually render a full building, even though it's log, and that's traditionally how it was done, or reed matting, or sometimes it's diagonal battens I saw, but the pegs seem to be like the old school way of doing it. So that is how the middle of the house is, that way and that way, is built, with 4 evenly sized rooms, or fairly even. But then in the middle, which is the kind of heart of all these Swedish homes, you have the way that they're heated, and they're almost linked. Well, they share the same chimney breast, but different sizes and shapes and styles. And this is really traditional in all of the Swedish. Even their old apartment in Stockholm had one of these. It's a what's your stoves called? Cartoon?
Kakelung means tiled oven. Kaken is tile and is oven.
Okay. So this is old school central heating, really, because in here it's a big sort of heat sink of, is it just bricks? Clay bricks?
Yeah, bricks, yeah.
Which will heat up and charge. So you're not looking at this as some sort of beautiful open fireplace. This is functionality, and you get your fire in there, you tick it over, and all of this heats up. But you have various different styles. I guess these were put in at the same time. They're just...
Yeah, I think so.
You just have a different style for each room. So they share the chimney stack in the middle that goes all the way up, but just slightly more ornate. And you don't have to have them all lit all at the same time, but there's one in the 3 reception rooms, and then the stove or the range in the kitchen. But is that purely decorative then, the brass one?
Well, it does help limit airflow again, I think. So this is, when you're lighting it, you want to
get it going with the air.
Start open up with both the vent at the top. They have a vent on the side that you can open up. So you started off, with these open, and then eventually you want to slowly shut it down so that it's burning enough so that it's not getting moist in the chimney.
Yeah, and condensation.
But not a roaring.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't have to refuel it that often then. It's fairly good.
No, you stop like 1 in the morning, and then this will hold heat. If it's a full load, it will do maybe about 12 hours. It will be like the temperature of a radiator.
Oh really?
Yeah.
And it would heat water?
Some of them have a little cubby hole up here where you could have put in a bucket of water for your washing.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But this, we've only got a 2 metre ceiling height here.
Yeah.
Whereas in our apartment it was 3 metres, and then it was a taller carpelung, and then there was maybe space for a little cubby hole in the middle. All
of these boards, all the original floorboards. This is in another video which we started filming, which is on the barn that they've got here. I was talking about how they built the floor system, but basically there's another frame in here which is boarded on the bottom and on the top, and between those two you put your choice of insulation. Often it's sort of wood shavings, sawdust, but sometimes it's pine needles, soil, like dry sandy soil, bark. There's loads in a list of what they use. It's quite interesting. Even the debris from anthills, which is like a dry pine needle. But these are huge boards here, and they always seem to be left sort of unfinished and really kind of authentic. But you can see when you catch the right light how worn they are on the thresholds and the thresholds themselves. So Here is the sort of main cross beam for, well, it's basically the bottom log. If you imagine all those logs stacked, that's where it follows through, but they leave it in, and that's to do with sort of the air movement in the building for drafts under the doors. So the doors actually close against sort of a doorstop. But this one here in particular is so nicely worn. You can almost see how that notch is completely gone, that rebate, and it's just smoothed over. So that is how all the internal doors sort of close. So you've got less drafts. Fashion of boarding over all the doors didn't stop in the UK. It was over here. These ones have been removed, and I think that's so cool how you got all the different paints, a little bit like we had. But I don't think they had quite as much glue, because all of ours had glue everywhere on the hardboard. So these are all original doors, all the original locks. So that's the third one, and then into the kitchen here, still got all of the, what do you call it, a range or a cooker?
Oh, I just finished them. Sorry.
That's all right. Some original Swedish mustard.
Ved spis.
Yeah.
You say.
So that's the fuel box.
No, that's the oven.
Oh, that's the oven. So you only got a tiny.
So you put logs in here.
Oh, okay.
I think this is like the ashtray and oil for cleaning out, and you got.
But the one in the guest house doesn't have an oven, no?
No, I don't think it did. It was just a stovetop. But so you got your little vent here for airflow. Your water heater.
It flew out the back. Oh, I see. So you fill the top. You tap off the bottom.
And that's just loose. I mean, that was put in. I saw in the renovation didn't notify that was put in as an afterthought. But
yeah. And then there's sort of dampening here, isn't there, on the airflow?
Yeah, if we can get this. We had a guy come here and clean out the chimneys, and he said that these fins underneath.
Yeah.
You can change the orientation of them so that the heat travels sideways across to the other stoves, or you can have it this way so that it kind of limits how much heat goes to the right to the other stoves.
And that bread oven is completely independent then. That's, you light a fire in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, sorry, avoid the recycling and juggling the bottle of wine. That's where you put the wood in, I believe.
Oh wow, how fun that is to clear out.
I know. And then that's where you're doing your baking. A cigarette button there at the moment from somebody.
It's deep as well, isn't it? You get some pizzas in there.
Yeah, and I think that's up on the ceiling at the back there. You can see the stone that's there's a little brick.
Yeah. Oh, it's a vaulted top.
There's a brick that's fallen down.
So
that's why they haven't used it.
The chimney must be like a pizza oven at the front, just up inside.
Ooh, yeah, I guess so. I can't see.
Oh, I guess that's the cleaning out.
Yeah.
What's up the chimney then? Is that just?
So you can open with the. That's not very well sealed, so we hear the wind and feel cold air dropping down here in the winter. So that's probably an improvement we can make. But yeah, you could open up that using this bar that runs up the left.
Yeah.
And so I guess if you were cooking on here,
and it's smoky. Oh, so it's an extraction fan, isn't it?
Effectively, yeah. If it's windy out there, it's going to be pulling the air out from.
Yeah. It's genius.
And all the black soot.
God, I mean, you'd have a good job as a chimney cleaner here, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's like 4 or 5 on each, but I don't know.
Yeah, but they're pretty quick there.
Yeah. And they can do it all from the top. That's why the ladders.
They did it from. This guy went in here, I think.
Yeah.
And they got the pipe going all up there, and then in these ones they went in the vent here. Yeah. And that's to get them approved, I think, so that they're covered on your insurance and stuff.
All right, girls. All right, I'm just going to film a bit of this window. So this is like I was talking about the window. So already, if you move side to side, you see a really nice handmade glass. All the little imperfections in there. The outer pane, the outer sash, the yellow one, is that one beyond this. So this is like old school secondary glazing, like you might have in a period home back in the UK. But what they do is they have a winter frame on the inside here. So the normal door is that window is that outside one, which is what most of them are like now. A couple of these have left in place because they didn't need to open them up. But interestingly, when they sit the winter frames in, they sit them in. I don't think they ever hinge. They're just put in there against the timber on the side. And then they put this tape, and it's kind of a gum tape. You put water on it, stick it on, and that makes it airtight, or at least sort of draft proof, all the way around the windows. First you put in this little wadding of mat at the bottom, which helps regulate any moisture that might be in there. The outside windows are designed to be really quite leaky, which means any moisture that gets in there at any point can always exit outwards, but you've got this nice draft proof seal on the inside. So every winter or every autumn, when you're getting ready for winter, that's one of the jobs you have to do. And then you can just soak those tapes in water and take out your internal frames in the spring and, you know, swing the windows open for the first time. And they've got this lovely little porch as well, which is all single glazed. I don't think they have any winter frames for in here. But even the hinges are so simple, but, you know, why change it? So these are top hung hinges. But then to secure them, you just slot that over the pin, and that's it. And then to remove them, you swing them out and they slide off the pins at the top. So there's completely toolless removal of all these windows. And if I can persuade Martina to come out, we're going to have a look at some of the window restoration she's up to at the moment. Right, I've got the experts, the DIY experts. So we were talking about the windows earlier, and they're pretty much these ones are top hung, aren't they? I think.
No, those ones are just regular.
Is it just the other side?
But they're not hinged. None of them are hinged except one on the far end. So they're just slotted in with those hooks, you know.
But bit by bit, because you can remove them quite easily, Martina's going to go through and restore each one. And there's a nice little setup in here. So have a little look. The first one, a cranked hinge.
And I mean, you could easily remake one of those.
Yeah, they're just normal.
I mean, of course, maybe we want to improve it and put a proper door on.
Yeah, because it's just a really basic door, and they've clad the outside.
And then exactly, these traditional panels.
Oh, it's not too warm in here. The sun hasn't hit it yet.
No, this room is the only insulated room of this kind to be able to.
But once it's had a day of sun coming through those windows, it turns into a bit.
Yeah. So this
is one of the ones that I'm working on. Yeah.
And did you strip the paint off completely, or was it okay?
You don't need to do. I mean, you do as much, like the flaky bits you need to get off. Obviously, it depends on how the wood looks. If the wood is looks really dry, then you would have to treat it with linseed oil.
And as long as no one's put any sort of modern paint on there, you're okay, aren't you?
No, exactly. So
you don't have to remove it.
Exactly, no plastic.
And then these really, like the joinery, is solid in itself. This is just like a strengthening.
Yes, exactly. It does have it does keep them together.
Yeah.
But I assume that they would stay pretty.
Yeah, because I think when I looked yesterday, there's the little timber dowels in there holding the joint together anyway.
Exactly. So. It's good to have some paint underneath, and then you paint these separately, put them on, and then you do a finished coating on top just to.
But what was interesting, the risk with these is that they get rusty.
Yeah. And
you've got lots of different people saying different stuff, but you can quench them in linseed oil.
So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna heat it up with a gas
like a
blowtorch thing, and then you just dip them in linseed oil. That's one way of treating them. Then there is lots of other. There are specific.
But you're painting them over the top anyway.
Yeah. Well. But the paint. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could leave them if you wanted that as a. I've seen that as well.
Just raw metal without.
And then you bed them on with a linseed putty underneath. Is that right?
Yeah.
A little skim.
Like the.
Same stuff as you use for the glass.
It's in Swedish. It's called shit.
Shit. Okay.
Didn't want to say that. No, but you don't have. We didn't
say we were speaking Swedish at that point.
You don't. For these, you don't have to put any of that underneath.
Okay.
Because
they're flat.
Because they're flat. But if they wouldn't be flat, then you would have to put that underneath, so the water doesn't.
Yeah, I saw some which are pressed. They're a little bit shaped.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then the next step, what I'm doing now, is to putting this putty in here, and then you're putting back the glass, and then you use you can either just press, but the risk is that what I've read is that you can easily break the glass if you're pressing too much.
Yeah.
And you need it to be quite tight down because you don't want really any gaps of like air or water seeping in. So then you can use like what do you call it? Like
an orbital sander.
Yeah, a
I've seen
sander, and then you sort of
just vibrates
it
like
down. So
effect,
that is what I'm doing next.
Yeah.
And then after that, you put like these little
the pins.
Pins in.
Yeah. And then putty over the top.
Putty over the top.
Yeah.
The putty, the sheet.
Yeah.
Is it easy? Is it when it's warm? Is it easier then? Can it be too warm?
It can be too warm. So I read now, because it's been quite warm. The accounts, like Instagram accounts that I follow, one woman recommended mixing 2 different brands, because one brand had a bit of a stiffer one, and this one is a bit I think a bit thinner, but it's recommended for beginners.
Beginner shit.
Because it's a little bit I think it's quite easy to work with.
Yeah. This building here on the left is like a workshop store. It wasn't used for livestock, but it was used for, well, storing timber and everything else you might need to keep the place going. And that's kind of what Ali's using it for at the moment. Different type of structure this is more like a post and beam structure. The one behind us is log built. Still so nice that all of these old locks and keys are here. We've had a good walk around this place and kind of picked away at some of the buildings just to kind of almost interpret and understand how they're built, because everything's different everywhere you go, and even village to village or carpenter to carpenter, people have had their own take on things. But this is what's known as a sort of standing plank, I think it was called. It's post and beam, and then you've got the standing boards on the outside. And that basically is the simplest form of building that there is, because your structure is just the primary post that you can see here, notched, normally half lapped, and then everything else just sits on the outside of that. This is the sort of dimensions of the posts. The rails that kind of come along here to catch the cladding are partially notched in some places. Sometimes they're just fixed to the outside. Downstairs is split up into different rooms. There's somewhere for firewood. There's a sort of an internal studio area, and then various different stores, garden equipment, and things like that. As far as the structure goes, pretty simple, but nice to work with and really easy to maintain, because you can replace those boards on the outside. Nothing's concealed. No internal boards, hiding nasties. And I guess that's why they last so well, a lot of these outbuildings, because there's airflow both sides, and even when it sits at -20 for weeks on end, it's still quite dry at that point. This sort of planked cladding is pretty much the most common sort of boarding you'll see on any of the buildings around here, and it's made up of these sort of, I don't know what they are actually, 8-inch boards, standing vertically. These ones are tongue and groove, most of them are not, and then battened over the join, nailed in, painted with this traditional paint, all the same colour, all breathable, and even when the snow's banked up against it, they last so well. I mean, all the buildings, even 100 to 200 year old boards all seem fine. You can obviously tell where the prevailing wind and rain is. They get a little bit more weathered, but even so, they're holding up amazingly. The one thing I really like over here is if you had a building like this, nearly the whole outer skin of the building and all the trim is just made from 1-inch boards of varying widths. So you can see how they do the barge board. That's often just a barge board on the end, and then sort of another board nailed to that at a right angle to make an angle to cap over the tiles. The surrounds around the windows are as simple as it can be. Just a board at the bottom, a little sill over the top, and then a surround, and then they've just got a little angled section at the top. And even with all the weather they get here, they hold up really well. So does go to show that simple is sometimes better. I'll see if Ali and Martina are able to come out and talk about other bits in a minute, but I'll just show you around building number 2, which is this really cool looking building here, almost American looking. And this is like a guest house. So I don't know if staff lived here at one point or what, I don't know. It's basically 2 apartments, one above another, kitchen in there on both floors. I think it would have had an outdoor toilet, but they've just plumbed everything in, ready for kind of upgrading in here. So here's the front of the guest house. I'm not going to take you in there because the kids are packing and it's absolute chaos. We're heading home today, but I will actually show you into the kitchen upstairs because it's still got its stove. All of them seem to have these little winding staircases in the corner of the buildings, but then it's still got one of the little stoves. And even in the main kitchen in the main house, they've got one of these. You know, I love the fact that none of this has been torn out. There's a bread oven in the main house as well, which is cool. We actually saw some massive bread ovens in some of the demonstration buildings that we went around. Even got some logs in there. Custom made cabinets into the eaves. Now, I said that none of these buildings have been messed around with too much, and that's true to an extent, but one thing that I have noticed is the desire to board over doors carried on over here to Sweden, because all of the doors here had been boarded and glossed like we had at the old house. And some of you might remember we went through all of our doors and restored them by taking all this hardboard off. Right, a couple of rapid fire questions. City or out here? Now you've had a modern, well, not a modern, you've had a nice classic apartment in Stockholm, and out here.
Yeah, out here for me.
Yeah.
Even in winter?
Yeah, but we've had 1 winter so far, so it's all been very fun. I imagine we'll have to see how it is after 5 winters.
5 winters.
And then 10 winters and then 20. But we're...
I mean, it's so set up for winter here though, isn't it?
Yeah, and when the snow comes and it's just beautiful out here.
Yeah.
So, and you get more of the snow because it's colder out here than it is in
Yeah.
the city.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get, I mean, you did say it thaws quite often and gets slushy, but it can stay crisp and even for a long time.
Yeah, it depends.
Which is why I think all the wood, like surely it just, if it's that cold, it's not actually wet. It's not, that's why it's not
I mean,
rotting.
you feel it in the air as well. When it is -10, -15, it doesn't even feel that cold because the air is drier itself.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's the same for the buildings. Like it's not then damp, humid air or against the boards. It's
No.
okay.
All right, favourite thing about here, Martina? Favourite feature, sorry.
Of the house?
Yeah, of the house or the land.
The hand-blown glass windows.
Are they like nice waviness?
Yeah, that makes the light that comes in through the house.
Hand blown.
Hand
right?
poured,
I
floating,
don't know.
float
Hand
glass.
glass. You have like
They're very cool. I know what you mean. I know what you're saying.
And
I just,
it makes the light in the house just something.
And you can't really
different.
recreate it
No.
with modern glass.
No,
I imagine it's expensive if we smash one. Millie, don't smash one.
Go on, Ali.
That's really tricky.
babies in the garden.
The veggies.
I have really enjoyed having the garden, but I feel like that's perhaps not specific to this house. Yeah, I would say probably upstairs. I don't know if you showed upstairs, but the exposed horizontals between the
big truss.
It's-
We haven't been up, but in your bedroom.
they're very. It makes a very cozy atmosphere up there on the upper floor.
And your
Floorboards.
the stoves and the floorboards. I guess.
Yeah, those wide boards in the green room
The
in the corner there.
original floors.
Yeah.
That's when I first saw the place and looking at the photos, I was always very amazed by those.
Yeah.
Before your child starts running upstairs, what is the next? What is your first big project?
The guest house. So we've got. It's just been there's electricity in there, but it's just been there's water from the well taken to the edge of the house, but not in, and now we put waste to the edge of the house.
Does it need its own pump? No, it doesn't need its own pump then.
No, the pump is down in the borehole, but it will need one of those pressure maintainers.
Vessel, buffer vessel. Yeah,
so that's the next. That as soon as you guys leave, we're going to start
tearing it
ripping
out.
some
We
stuff.
could have started on that.
Yeah, true. And then the idea is that, I mean, then that will be, if we ever do anything to our house, then we'll be able to kind of use
self-contained. That's a
so
great
we're putting
shout,
everything like
kitchen,
it's gonna have
bathroom.
a kitchen, bathroom.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a completely separate house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to use that if we ever need to vacate our house if we're doing something big.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that that's coming anytime soon, but just it will be there.
Yeah.
We've got to figure out how much effort we're going to go to putting in more insulation and stuff.
Yeah.
So that we can use it in the winter as well.
Which is kind of one thing we were talking about this week, whether, because you're only limited by the depth of your stud walls or your frame, whether you put, you know, I was reading here people do it externally as well as internally. So, but it's always breathable. There's no, I mean, I'm imagining in the urban areas people do use modern insulation, but from what I can see, people are quite loyal to like breathable insulation.
Especially if you're in messing around with an existing building.
Yeah, which is so good.
There's some horror stories we've heard from some people who have extensions or just a complete renovation, and the house is just not.
And are people using plasterboard in renovations, or is it a lot of it left as paneling, tongue and groove?
I think a mixture.
Yeah.
There is some plasterboard in that house and in this house,
which is already. It's not the end of the world, because some of these walls were plastered, lime plaster onto the logs anyway, weren't they? So,
but we had a guy here. I know. Oh yeah, when we had a survey done on the guest house before we moved in, he recommended just putting a new layer of paneling on the outside.
Yeah.
Layer of insulation, new layer of paneling.
Yeah, which is kind of what we were saying.
Which would be the easiest, but it would you end up with obviously the windows set back in then, unless you move the windows out again.
Yeah.
Which is what they did here.
Which is odd, because windows are normally set in new construction, but obviously here they're just set out. Yeah. But at least you've got the overhang, so if you did need to add 120 mil to the walls on the outside, then you could. Yeah. Right, last little thing to look at is the upstairs of the main house, because this is obviously the original roof trusses and roof structure. Again, this is a little bit like how the floors are constructed here. You've got the boards on the underside, insulation sandwiched between, and then boards on the top before the batten and tile. So I guess a century-old SIP panel, but sandwiched with insulation. And I guess, is that sawdust up there? Does it drop through at all?
That's modern.
So that's a wool insulation. Yeah. Whereas some of the walls were sawdusty, weren't they? I think we saw some.
Maybe that was blown in.
Or between the two.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's a chimney that does 5 stoves, 5 appliances.
Yeah, the 3 fireplaces, the stove, and then the bread oven. Yeah. And this is the bit we looked up. You know the.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's from the hood
makes
above
sense. And then the one stack at the top. So they're the beams that tie it all in. So the rafter, so all your rafters are just sandwiched between all the boards. It's just wood. So does that post come down in the kitchen? Or is it in the wall?
It does. Where does that come down? Internally in the wall.
Yeah. And more paneling through there. And all rough sawn it, but it's so nice when it's painted. It's so much more interesting than having plain.
Yeah, they use this this paint, this bean bone glue paint, or I don't know, bean lim.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay, you're in, Joe.
Sorry.
Woo! Joe's been vacant because she's vacant. Is that what?
Yeah.
Vacant expression.
I've been on childcare duty.
Joe's been wrangling kids all afternoon, or all morning, I should say. So we're just about to wrap up things and head off. But a big thank you to Ali and Martina for a little tour. And it's not over. The Swedish fun carries on, because there is actually another building hiding here. We're coming back next week. And
I think we need to change the lights.
I haven't told Tom yet, but we're coming over next summer to rebuild. No. There's another barn. There is a barn at the bottom here. And Ali and I walked down earlier and filmed a bit down there. So there's going to be a future video. Keep an eye out for that. But we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself. We'll see you next time. Or leave it to the Swedes.
Yeah.
We'll come back next year and it'll all be finished. Every window.